All right, family, just making sure that all the technology is doing what the technology is supposed to do. And we're going to get to it right now. Hey, what's going on, family? With the market tumbling, tariffs hitting imports, and volatility back on the court, the fear is real. Stocks are slipping, inflation is lurking, and headlines are screaming recession. A lot of people are scared. Most people are frozen. They're playing not to lose versus playing to win. But here's what I want you to know: defense matters for sure, especially in times like this. But defense, we've all heard that saying that defense wins championships. I'm going to disagree with that today. And this is going to be the first time I actually say this out loud. Defense doesn't win championships. What defense allows you to do, especially with basketball, it gives you more chances to score. When you can play good defense, you now have the ball in your hands more often. And with the ball in your hands more often, you now have the opportunity to score. But defense alone will not help you win the wealth game. You actually have to know how to play offense, right? So if you're not developing your financial offense, you're just running, what I'm saying, kind of just running the clock out on your own potential. So let's jump right into this piece today, right? Because I know there's a lot of fear in the marketplace. So, real quickly here, just to share a little bit about myself, Perry Jeffries here. I've been coaching, consulting, and helping clients transform their finances for over 20 years now. Through every major economic shakeup of this century, from the Y2K scare to the dot-com bubble bursting between 2000 and 2003, through the 9/11 crash and terrorist attack, through the 2008 Great Recession, through the COVID-19 economic meltdown, and now the Trump era tariffs and market chaos. We've helped our clients navigate this space. So I share that not to flex in any way, but I know there's going to be a lot of yahoos on the social media telling you should do this and you should do that, yet they've never helped anybody navigate through a chaos or through a crisis. We've done this every crisis of this century. We have been there helping our clients make good financial decisions. All right. So, what I'm going to share with you today is these strategies aren't theory, they're battle tested, and they're the foundation of what we call our wealthy framework, our 7-part blueprint of building financial freedom, no matter what is happening in the economy. All right. That makes sense. So, before we get on here, we just finished up March Madness. I'm running behind today because I had to stay up to about 11:45, 12 o'clock to finish watching the game, but also too to finish just finishing up the March Madness holiday that I call it, right? And I had to hear one shining moment. That's just something I have to do. And one of the reasons I'm very animate about that experience is because I played college basketball. So in today's lesson, I'm going to combine basketball and the ideas around scoring and full court press and offense and defense. I'm going to bring that background from being a coach and playing Division 1 and being a All-American candidate in junior college and things of that nature, right? I'm going to bring this basketball experience coupled with my financial expertise all into one lesson for you today. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, so before we get start talking about the game that we're playing, we got to get crystal clear of who our opponent is, right? Because that's important, right? So if I'm coaching a basketball game and we have the plays that we run and the defenses that we do and things of that nature, right? That's good. But I also need to scout my opponent. I need to know what my opponent is trying to do so that I can put my defense in to stop them from doing that. I need to know what my opponent's strengths and weaknesses are so that I can game plan and know how we're going to, maneuver throughout the course of the game and give ourselves the best chance of winning. This is where I think so many people drop the ball, right? Because I don't think they're clear on who their opponent is. So, in this lesson today, you're going to be crystal clear on who your opponent is. Because if you don't know your opponent, I don't care what game plan you have, it's probably going to fail because you haven't taken the time to study your opponent and know what you're up against. All right. Okay, let's get right to it. So, our opponent are a list. I'm gonna give you guys a list of wealth killers, right? This isn't just one player. It's a system, it's a mindset, and a distraction machine designed to keep you broke, confused, or just comfortable enough not to move forward. All right. So let's first talk about this first opponent, the system, the traditional finance and broken retirement system. The system that says, hey, as long as you put money into your 401k, one day you'll be able to retire. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people's 401k has taken a 10, 20, 30% hit over the last couple of days here, last couple of weeks. And we haven't seen a drop like this since the Great Recession of 2008, right? So if your whole plan to become financially free is based upon contributing to my 401k, your 401k, if you're currently invested in the market at the time of this recording, you are seeing a loss. How scary is that? I just having this conversation with one of my clients at the gym the other day, who's very, very pro Dave Ramsey, right? Um, and he's like, Perry, I get it now. Like we're down $300,000, and it's like, phew. And I said, my goodness, what if you were retiring today? You would be retiring on $300,000 less than what you had, and in the meantime, you're going to be taking 4 or 5% out. If you're taking 4 to 5% out of your quote unquote 401k nest egg while the market is dropping, you run the risk of a concept called sequence of returns risk where you could go broke. You hear that? So if your whole strategy is 401k, which is what the system has led us to believe, and I'm not going to even get into the tax tsunami that's coming up. I'm actually doing a webinar on that here upcoming week as well, talking about the power of zero and how the traditional finance system has set us up to put all of our money into these 401ks and IRAs without giving us the tax guidance to know that we're probably going to end up paying more in taxes in the future than what we're paying right now, which means that that play is actually hurting us and is a tax tsunami. But I won't get into that now. Make sure you tap in and jump back on the YouTube channel later on. We'll have that webinar recording uploaded for you. Also, what has the system, another component to the system of one of our opponents that we're dealing with is the scarcity mindset, the mindset of delayed base strategies. Hey, I got to live broke now, right? I got to eat rice and beans every day. I got to go get a second or third job and take away from the time to spend with my family and my wife and my kids and doing the things that I truly enjoy just so I can hoard some money to one day have a nest egg versus having an abundance mindset, which says, hey, let me go out here and learn how to create value in the marketplace so that I can start to generate cash flow today to cover my lifestyle versus, hey, I'm just going to, work my butt off here for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And hopefully I have enough money that the stock market doesn't, crush and I can live my best life when I'm older and less healthier and less mobile, which sounds absolutely crazy when you say it out loud, right? So, this is one of the opponents that we're up against, ladies and gentlemen, right? This is one of the things, this is who we're fighting against, right? So, this opponent's strategy, their goal is to keep you playing defense your whole life, but never taking a shot at the basket. Our second opponent, the hidden opponent that we don't see, inflation and taxes, right? You potentially could be paying upwards of 50% of your hard-earned money to taxes, right? And I didn't mince my words. I said 50%. Because when you factor in federal income tax, state tax, local tax. And then you start to factor in, property tax. When you start to factor in capital gains tax when you sell things, like there are so many taxes that are actually eroding your cash flow. And nobody is having this conversation with you, because now that the market is correcting and drop, this may be an opportune time to take advantage of the tax code and reposition some of those dollars that are going to get taxed at a higher tax rate in the future. But nobody's talking to you about that. And then inflation with the tariffs, we most certainly will see inflation. Inflation simply is the cost of goods and services as they go up over time, where we're probably going to see, and again, I don't have a crystal ball on this, but I do understand math, that if we're charging countries that we import a lot of our product from a tax to import their stuff, they're going to raise their prices so they can make money, which in turn means that we're going to pay more for these things, which is going to be passed on to the consumer. So this is just simple math. You don't have to be an economist to figure this one out, right? So we have to be prepared that we're probably going to start paying 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% more for some of the same goods and products that we've been able to purchase in the past, right? The next opponent, right? Because, I'm saying, we're playing basketball right now, we're playing a sport. The next opponent we have to address is the mental opponent: fear and confusion. Was just working with one of our new clients here today. Sent him an email and said, "Hey, you have some accounts with those other advisors and with those other firms that we don't advise, or we don't manage. Would you like to have a conversation?" And their response was, "Perry, I'm just going to kind of sit and wait it out." Well, that strategy has hurt so many people's chances of retiring or becoming work optional, or what we like to say, becoming financially free. Right? The fear and confusion will cause individuals to have analysis by paralysis, will actually fear them out of investing in something that can actually have a financial benefit to them and their family. So the mindset piece is one of the most major components, the same way it is on a basketball court. I go through this with my teenage daughters all the time, who are very skilled basketball players, but they don't show it on the court all the time. And that's not a matter of skill. That's a matter of mindset. That's a matter of confidence. That's a matter in believing in the work that you put in, and going ahead and being okay with failing so that you can fail fast, learn, make adjustments, and become a better player, not just in the next game, but on the next play. Same way with you, family, is your mental, how your mindset. You have to consider having a paradigm shift, right? So fear and confusion will keep you paralyzed, and fear and confusion would block your sight from seeing opportunities to take advantage of the stock market, the real estate market, and the business market, which is currently on sale at a discount. Goodness gracious. So our opponent strategy is to keep you second guessing, sideline, and just hoping it's all going to work out one day. Hopefully the pain doesn't last too long, right? And then we have the last opponent here, the cultural opponent. This is the other opponent. This is consumerism and distraction, right? It's the spin culture. It's the, oh, I got the bag. Let me go out here and show you I got the bag. Let me buy the new thing. Let me drive the big whip. Let me, what I'm saying, post that I'm going on vacation. Let me show that I'm doing all the things, right? That is a cultural issue that we are now dealing with now. And the distractions of consuming that content. We just had a multimillionaire on one of our mentorship. We have a millionaire mastermind mentorship program, and I bring in a multimillionaire every month just to mentor to those that group. And our last mentor came in, and he said that we asked him the question of, "Hey, what is your most important habit?" And he said his most important habit is that he creates more than he consumes. He says, if somebody is spending an hour watching, 2 hours watching a game, um, he'll spend 10x that creating products and services to bring to, so that he's able to serve his market, that he's able to bring value to the marketplace, that he's able to create cash flow today and not be subject to the stock market crashing and having anxiety, right? And he said something to him when we asked him the question, how you created his first million. He said, I was able to create my first million inside a retirement account because I was able to take some risk. And he said, the only reason I was able to take this risk is because I had the rest of my financial house in order. Let that sink in. There are going to be opportunities with this recession, where there are going to be opportunities with this trade war for you to take advantage of some opportunities. But your financial house has to be in order before you can start taking advantage of these opportunities. Okay. All right, let's keep on moving, y'all. So those are our opponents. That's who we're playing against, right? And we got to get a game plan if we're going to win against the system, the tax code, and the culture. That's who we're playing against. All right. So let's get into this piece about defense, because in order for you to win, you can't just focus on defense. You just can't be like, ooh, what I'm saying, we're shutting them down. You still got to know how to score, but you need both. You need financial defense and financial offense. So let's go through financial defense. Okay. Financial defense, based upon the wealthy framework that we teach inside our financial freedom boot camp, right? And the thing with this is that defense buys possessions, not points. We want the ball back in our hands. We want to have possession of the ball. How we get possession of the ball is by playing lockdown defense, right? Not letting the opponent do what they want to do, not letting them keep us frustrated on the sidelines, right? So we first have to get the ball. That's what defense does. It buys us possessions. All right. So the first way, what I'm saying, first thing we need to do is we really need to watch our numbers. So at this point in time, you need to have crystal clarity around your cash flow. You need to know exactly where your money is going, and you need to know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and know that down to the dollar is super important now, especially if we start to see an increase. We start to see inflationary pressures and the cost of goods and services going up. Here's the deal, family. With the first part of the wealthy framework, to W, to watch your numbers, you can't win a game you're not scoring, but you also can't score if you don't know the score. Okay. So here's the deal, fam. Just like March Madness, I just finished watching the championship, right? And watching games this year, and it was a reoccurring thing that I kept seeing. I kept seeing teams, you know, getting blown out, not because they played poor defense, right? But because they couldn't score the basket. Players going 3 of 19, teams going 4 of 20, right? I don't care how good your defense is. If you can't put the ball in the hole, you're not going to win the game. You're not going to win a game 2-0, because you're only going to be able to stop that other team maybe, 40 to 60% of the time. So they're going to score. You have to be able to get possessions and know how to score. So you can't win a game that you're not scoring. And the first score that you need to be tracking, the first numbers you need to be tracking, is your income versus your expenses, having crystal clarity on that. The next thing is you need to have a true emergency fund. Now, I'm not talking about the high yield savings account that you hear from the Dave Ramsey, followers and things of that nature. Because I used to have that conversation with clients as well. Hey, we want to have 3 to 6 months of emergency fund. But guess what? If the emergency comes up, which is the purpose of using the emergency fund, if the emergency comes up and you have to tap into that money, let's say you got 3 months of your emergency fund. Let's say that your expenses are, for easy math, 5,000 a month. You got $15,000 in your emergency fund. What happens when you get a $15,000 emergency in month one? What are you going to do? Because now those dollars are no longer working for you. They went to pay for the emergency. That's why we believe that your emergency fund should be what we call the Rockefeller Fund. It should be the same account that the Rockefellers have used for centuries to maintain their wealth. Your emergency fund should be a fund that we say covers life's limits. It should cover loss of income. It should cover illnesses. It should cover money shortages. It should cover investment opportunities, right? investment opportunity. And it should also cover any transitions that you have in life, right? A wedding, a divorce, a child being born, right? We have kids who are about to turn 16 who want to own a car, right? So we have an emergency fund that's built based upon what would the Rockefellers do, which is a properly structured, optimally funded mutual company cash value insurance policy that covers all of life's limits that I just named. Your high yield savings account doesn't cover that. If we have an emergency with our Rockefeller fund, we can actually keep our dollars working for us uninterrupted and get a policy loan to then fund and take care of our emergency while our dollars are still growing. You need to have this set up, especially in a time like this, because there are going to also be investment opportunities where you can be like, man, I really want to jump on this opportunity. We have one right now. We were referred to a seller who was he needed to sell a house because the aunt was getting sick and they needed to get cash in hand, and we were able to make them a very quick offer, and we're going to close in about 10 or 14 days. And what we're using for down payment is my Rockefeller fund. So that means that my money that I'm bringing as a down payment, which on this particular deal is about 17,000, my 17,000 is going to stay inside my fund and continue to grow uninterrupted while I get a policy loan to purchase the piece of real estate, which is going to cash flow, which is going to give me tax deductions, and is also going to give me up long-term appreciation while the stock market is falling, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I hope y'all rocking with me here. I'm giving y'all some game right now. We call this the Rockefeller Fund, right? So again, this is part of the defense you play. Protect your cash flow. Get a better rate of return, a better interest rate on your cash flow, because we're going to see more than likely interest rates drop to try to deal with the inflation that we're about to see. So you're going to be making less than 1% on your savings account. We're already seeing how yield savings accounts that were paying 5.5, 6% now dropping down to 3 and 4, right? So the Rockefeller Fund. The next line of defense, we have to look at terminating the toxic debt that you have. That monthly debt service may be the death of you. We have to figure out how to get that off the books. And how we get that off the books, we use something called the DAM method. It is our debt annihilation money nourishing plan, right? This is how we show our clients and people who come through our financial freedom boot camp how to pay off debt and build wealth at the same damn time. Hence why we call it the DAM method, right? But I won't get into that method here. We don't have time for that today. We're just giving you a brief overview. But you have to start looking at getting rid of that toxic debt. And what do we consider toxic debt? Just so we're clear, I'm not oh my gosh, you got to be debt free, be pay off all your debt. Because here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, even if you're debt free, you cannot pay off your monthly expenses. You cannot pay off your grocery bill. You cannot pay off your utilities. So what I look at, hey, I don't mind if I have a liability on my balance sheet if that liability gives me an asset. I don't mind having a mortgage, i.e., a debt, if that mortgage gives me a property that is going to help me save on taxes, that is going to appreciate and give me some monthly cash flow, right? So you got to start to look at that. So that is your next form of defense, is terminating toxic debt. But you first have to get crystal clear what toxic debt is. And again, this may require a mindset shift. So here's the deal. And from a basketball standpoint, you can't play fast if you're being dragged down by debt. The next line of defense, y'all, your taxes, right? We believe in leveraging the power of zero from the book David McKnight wrote called The Power of Zero. And you have to think about it this way. If you're not reducing your taxes, if you're not actively looking to reduce your tax bill, you are leaving money on the table. I promise you. What matters is not how much money you make. What matters is how much money you keep, right? So, a key point here, defense keeps you in the game, but defense is only as good as your ability to make plays when the ball is in your hand. If you can reduce your taxes, you can put more cash in your pocket, which now means you have more capital that you can disperse to go out and acquire cash flow generating assets and invest. If you're reducing your toxic debt and getting that off getting that off of your monthly cash flow, that will leave more money in your pocket and give you more discretionary income. If you have a true emergency fund built the same way that the Rockefellers built their wealth upon, using that properly structured cash value policy where you can still cover, a money shortage. Oh my goodness, you know what I'm saying? We're short money this month versus tapping into your high yield savings account, being able to borrow against your policy and not have a required monthly payment. But more importantly, your money still be able to grow uninterrupted, right? And you need to know your numbers. So that's your defense. All right, but let's get into offense because again, we're no longer saying defense wins championships. Defense gives you defense gives you more possessions to score. Now let's talk about scoring. All right, we talking about scoring, right? Hey, what's your ability to score? So I coach my daughter. I train my daughters. I no longer coach them. We have their AU coaches and high school coaches doing that, but I coached them for years, and I still train them. So we got to teach them certain skills. They need to know how to dribble. They need to know how to make layups with both hands. They need to know how to hit open jump shots. They need to know how to do a pull up, right? So these are all free. You need to know how to make free throws. These are all basketball skills, right? But not only do you need to develop those skills, you have to develop the understanding of when to use those skills. When is it time to cross somebody up and get in for a layup? When is it time to do a step back and shoot to three? When is it time to just get to the hole hard so you can get to the foul line and shoot free throws, right? When is it time to in and out cross between, like, here's the deal. We see this a lot where, especially in this new generation of kids, where they have these trainers, they're training on cones, and they can do all these things on the cone, but when they get into the real game, it doesn't translate. They don't know how to adapt. Oh my goodness, the cone doesn't move and play defense. What do I do now that this person moving and play defense? And they get frustrated because, like, man, I did all this work, but I don't know what to do. Same way with your finances, y'all. You're only going to get good at creating wealth by getting in the game and going against your opponent, playing against defense. So, in this market, if you can figure out how to be prosperous in a market like this, imagine what you'll do in a very in a not crisis market, right? We've experienced a bull market effectively for I think 19 years, well, 17 years. We've been in a bull market effectively since about 2009, since the 2008 Great Recession. Other than the hiccup we had during the COVID and the market rebounded back from there, we've been pretty much from 2009 to 2025 on a straight bull market, right? Everybody was making money because it was like playing against cones. Our opponent wasn't moving. But guess what? We now have cones that are moving. Our opponent is in full go. That defense is out here. So, do you know how to score? Do you know how to win in any economy? That's going to be my challenge to you, family. So, couple things here directly from our wealthy framework, automating wealth building, right? After you have, you're funded your Rockefeller emergency fund, how are you automating your wealth creation? We've seen it, we've heard it. If you don't believe me, go Google it. More millionaires were created during the Great Depression than any other time in our economy. More millionaires were created and businesses were started during COVID 19. I think I saw a stat that we had more businesses created during the COVID 19 era than ever in history, because folks is at home and it's like, man, I got to figure out how to make some money, right? So we had so many entrepreneurs start their entrepreneur journey during that time, right? So the deal is, you have to figure out how to start creating wealth. If you can figure out how to create wealth in this economy, imagine when you're in a bull market. Like now you start to look at this from an opportunistic standpoint. Yes, it's painful seeing your 401k go down in value. Yes, painful seeing your stock market, you know what I'm saying, your stock portfolio decrease. Yes, painful paying more at the gas tank and paying more at the grocery store. But how are you positioning yourself to win? One way you can do this is by pure automation. Decide what asset, what investment you're going to put on autopilot, regardless if the market is up or down, and start to put 10% of your income going into it automatically. We just had a one of our younger clients reach out to us, and they're like, "Man, the market is being crazy right now. What do you think I should do with my 401k? Should I reduce how aggressive I am in my 401k and be more conservative?" And I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. Is your 401k in your now, soon, or later on bucket?" That's our initial question almost for anybody when they ask what they should do with their money. Your now bucket is money that you need now, like in less than a year. Your soon bucket is money you need in 2 to 10 years. Your later on bucket is your bucket that you don't plan on touching for say 10 years plus, right? Well, he said it's my later on bucket. I said, okay. So you're telling me that you now want to not buy the investments that you were buying at full price, and you want to not buy those investments now that they're at a discounted rate. So let me say that a different way just to make sure I understand, make sure I'm clear on that. If you have been investing in the market up to this point, you've been paying full price for your investments from about 2009 to about now 2025, because the market has just been going up. Now you may have took advantage of the market downturn we had during the pandemic and then it ramped back up, but effectively if we pull out that time period, you have been paying full price. Every time you bought an investment, you've been paying probably at the height of that investment. Okay. Well, now that investments are discounted, why in the hell would you not want to invest in it at a cheaper rate? It's kind of like I used the example of buying shoes. If you like the shoes at 100, you're telling me that you don't like them at 70 or 60 or $50. If you spend $100 on the J's and you was cool with spending 100, you're now telling me that when you have an opportunity to buy two pairs of J's for the same $100, $50 a piece, that, oh well, no, I think that's a bad investment. Now let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. So what can you put on autopilot today? Is that your infinite banking system? Is that your portfolio? Right? Is that your, hey, if you haven't been investing in your 401k, this might be a good time to start, because now you're at least buying investments at a discount, right? So again, this is a form of running offense, and you can set this on autopilot and forget it, especially for your later on bucket. Okay. Next piece of offense. So this is the next play, right? Is learn how to leverage like the bank, right? We believe wholeheartedly that what we haven't been taught about personal finance, the banks use all the time via corporate finance. That's why our motto is think like the bank, become the bank. Did you know that banks typically keep 25% of their tier one capital, money that they cannot lose, money that has to show up on their books, inside cash value life insurance policies? Because they know those dollars are protected, and they know they can still have access to capital by using policy loans to go out and invest in real estate, infrastructure, hire staff, executive bonuses, the whole nine. You can run the same play, right? Here, let me break this down for you real quick. If you actually have access to truly wealthy individuals, I mean truly wealthy, I ain't talking about just folks who look like they got money. I'm talking about folks who are worth 7 and 8 figures, 7, 8, 9 figures. When you have access to them, ask them this question: where do you keep your cash? Let me ask you a different question. You're probably earning less than 1% on your savings account. Do you think the banks are keeping their cash in the same 1% savings account that they're offering you? Just go Google it. Go Google where banks keep your money. Go Google bank owned life insurance. Tell me if I know what I'm talking about. I know I am because I've done the research, right? So learn how to think like the bank. Learn how to use the same dollar more than once. I just mentioned that my wife and I are buying a piece of real estate. We're also about to buy a vending route, right? With vending machines. So how are we funding this? We're not using our own money. We're accessing capital from the family banks and the 4D banking method that we've created so that we can continue to make money in our left hand pocket and get access to capital, make money in our right hand pocket. Whew. So learn how to leverage like the banks. Learn how to start to understand how you can get access to capital to go out and actually take advantage of the current economic climate. Because again, more millionaires made during the Great Depression, more businesses flourished and began and flourished and took over the market during the pandemic. What are you going to do during the tariff crisis? All right, last one here, last piece of offense, right? Because we're getting buckets, right? So we got layups, we got jump shots, right? You know what I'm saying? We got pull-ups, we got free throws, right? Let's talk about this one. Let's call this one, we call this one, the three-pointer. Are you currently shopping for passive income? Let me say that again. Are you currently shopping for passive income? Every day you should be shopping for passive income. Well, you might ask the question, well, Perry, why would I be shopping for what do you even mean shopping for passive income? When you start to understand that financial freedom is the point in time that your passive income, semi passive income, almost passive income, let's just call it monthly recurring cash flow that you receive, but that you don't have to work 9 to 5 for. When you have more of that income coming in than you have monthly expenses, you are financially free. So every day you should be thinking about how can I create some passive income? And what's so wild is we've been conditioned again, know who your opponent is. We've been conditioned that the only two ways to really create passive income is in real estate and investing in the stock market. That's a total lie. That's a total sham. There are so many ways to create passive income. When you start to understand that your income is based upon the value you bring to the marketplace, you creating a course creates passive income. You being an affiliate for somebody else's business. Like we had a mentor, a millionaire mentor, come speak to us who's doing over $100,000 a month, not selling any of his own product. All he does is add value to the marketplace and then share links to other people's products that he gets paid on. And he gets paid over $100,000 a month. And a couple months, he's done 1 million a month. And I know those numbers sound kind of gaudy and you're like, oh my goodness, Perry, I can't do that. Okay, let's say you can't do that. But what if you could create an extra 1,000 a month, extra 2,000 a month? Could you create something of value that you could sell for 99 bucks that 100 people would buy? Because if 100 people bought your thing that you were selling for 100 bucks, that's $10,000. Would $10,000 help you this month? With $10,000 every month help you? Right. So when you start to understand and start to shop for passive income and start to learn how you create passive income, and if you ain't got a lot of money, great. Go Google, go jump on ChatBT. Hey, what are 10 passive income strategies that don't require a lot of capital? And if you got capital and you're terrified of the stock market and you like, man, I'm tired of sitting here and just watching my account dwindle down. Let me figure out how to do something different with these dollars, right? That can start to give me income today. Go do the same Google search. Go jump on ChatGPT and say, hey, what are 10 strategies that can create passive income if I have, an extra 10,000, an extra 10,000, 100,000, whatever the case may be, but start to shop for passive income because this is where you become financially free, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I hope y'all getting this. It's offense and defense. But again, defense gives you more opportunities to score. But if you can't put the ball in the basket, if you haven't practiced a Euro step, if you haven't practiced a step back three, if you haven't practiced your free throws, how do you expect to score? This is where you can start to use athletics as the playbook for creating wealth because it all comes down to the numbers. Do you have more points than your opponent? Is your mindset stronger than your opponent? Are you crystal clear on what your opponent is trying to do to you so that you can actually put a game plan together to, disrupt what they're trying to do to you? This is how you create wealth. This is your full court press to creating wealth, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I hope this was valuable. Be sure to share this with your loved ones. Watch it a couple times over if you need to, just so you can really, really understand this piece. Because I'm a hooper. Guys know that to my core. What I'm saying? I live and breathe basketball, right? And it's crazy because the game of basketball, as with many other athletics, is actually getting you prepped for the game of life. When you start to understand that in basketball, I got to not only play good defense, but also I got to know how to score and know how to play offense. Now look at your personal financial situation. What are you doing to play defense during this, crises, during this turbulent time? But also, what are you doing to score? And if you don't know how to score, that's why you learn how to score. You join boot camps like our Financial Freedom Boot Camp. So you start learning how to score. You hire coaches and mentors. You get mentored by multimillionaires because here's the deal: when you start to interview and talk to multimillionaires, you're going to be mind blown that most of them, I would venture to say probably 90% of the ones that I've met, don't invest in the stock market. A lot of them don't have retirement plans. But that's what we've been conditioned to believe, that we got to be invested in the stock market. We got to be invested in retirement plans. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that we've been conditioned that that's the only way to get the job done. But if you go talk to and interview the same thing that we do inside our millionaire a mastermind mentorship program, is we bring in a multimillionaire a month to tell us how they got it done. And we've yet to bring one in who said that, oh yeah, I created my financial freedom. I became financially free because I diligently put money into my 401k. No, what they did is they start to understand that the way to become financially free is to identify a problem, become the solution, and get laser focused on serving the people who have that problem. All right, y'all. Hope this was valuable to you. Make sure you share it. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.